Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Polite. What an amazing array in this panel of talent and experience, and we thank you, each and every one of you, for your willingness to engage in public service. We have questions to ask. With this panel, I wish I could ask each of you 5 minutes of questions, but you'll be spared from that ordeal, and we'll try to keep this as condensed as possible. But I do want to start with Mr. Chipman. Mr. Chipman, first, thank you for serving in law enforcement and risking your life for this nation. We cannot ever thank you enough, and your family for standing by you in this commitment. Buckle your seatbelt. You want to be ahead of the ATF? Hang on tight. They're coming after you, buddy. They are creating some fictional stories about your life and your experience, and you're going to have to try to weather this storm. It's going to be rough time to time, but I want to give you an opening opportunity. It seems that some on the political fringe are willing to say whatever it takes to try to sink your nomination. That includes peddling baseless claims about your work as an ATF special agent in Waco, Texas, and statements that you made regarding attacks on a helicopter supporting ATF operations in Waco. I also understand they've gone so far as to Photoshop your face on somebody else's body to try to establish that you were in Waco or in some other place when you weren't. So now's your chance to at least open up by telling us the facts. Would you comment on your role at Waco, the purported photograph, and the statements you made regarding the helicopter attack?
Thank you, Chairman Durbin, for the opportunity to address these issues. First, I was directed to report to Waco in May of 1993. That was in the month after the events at Waco had concluded. My role was to be assigned to a group of DOJ employees who were investigating the events there. And one of the reasons I was selected is because I had no involvement in the actual case that was being examined. With regards to a photo that I too have seen on the internet, this is not me. It is, in fact, a real photo that comes from the time of Waco. It has a stamp on it that showed that it was evidence. But during the course of the investigation, I interviewed all of the ATF agents at Waco, and that is not an ATF agent. And then finally, the question about what I believe you're responding to is I had the opportunity to do an event on Reddit. Reddit is one of those things where people fire questions at you and you have to type very fast. And I got a question about the lethality of the .50 caliber rifle and how often it was used in crime in the United States. And I was trying to be candid and say that the only case that I knew of that .50 calibers were used was at this incident at Waco that I was familiar with. And I was also familiar that Branch Davidians had in fact shot two of the planes, helicopters. There were bullet holes, and I saw the pictures of that. I could have done a better job by describing them as being forced down because of the gunfire as opposed to shot down, which might have left the impression that they were blown out of the sky, which they were not. And I regret that confusion I added.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure you'll have ample opportunity to answer that and similar questions as we proceed. Ms. Milgram, I think one of the really startling things that I learned in this Judiciary Committee many years ago as we considered the role of the DEA was the responsibility of the Drug Enforcement Administration of the United States federal government to determine each year how many opioid pills would be produced by pharmaceutical companies across our nation. Between 1993 and 2015, the agency which you are hoping to lead allowed production of oxycodone to increase 39-fold from 3.5 tons to 151 tons with DEA approval. Senator Kennedy and I authored legislation to require DEA in their quota setting to take into account the fact that that was way too many, and there were many people who were abusing it, and too many overdose deaths. I'm encouraged that the quota has gone down from 14 billion opioids on the market in 2016 to 9.7 billion in 2019, but that is still too much. Those pills are enough, that quota is enough for every adult in America to have a 2-week supply of opioids. Haven't we learned our lesson? Have you addressed this issue? Are you aware of it?
Senator, thank you for that question, and thank you also for the leadership that both you and Senator Kennedy have shown in raising this issue and in passing the SUPPORT Act. I agree with you that drug diversion remains of critical and urgent importance for the DEA. We've seen between 2019 and 2020, approximately 90,000 Americans have overdosed. And again, many of those individuals are starting on opioids through their medicine cabinets and through the medicine cabinets of their family and friends. So I share your concern about this issue. You have my commitment that if I am confirmed, this will be a high priority issue to look at the quotas and to work with you, I hope, and other members of this committee on this important issue.
I'll just say to my colleagues, it is hard to understand how the pharmaceutical industry can year after year ask for approval for the production of billions of these opioid pills when we're going through this scourge of overdose and all the heartbreak that it brings with it. And I hope the DEA will finally stand up and say enough. Thank you very much, Ms. Milgram. Senator Grassley.